Hey guys, I'm Tom the Tech Chap, and this is the shiny new RTX 3070, and it'll cost you £470 or $500. So it's about $200 less than the 3080. And considering NVIDIA have claimed that this guy should be at least as fast, if not faster, than the previous flagship, the 2080 Ti, then this is pretty exciting actually. The thing is, as impressive as the 3080 and the 3090 are, they are very expensive and I think a little bit overkill for the vast majority of us, especially if you're still playing at 1080p or 1440, which is why I think the 3070 here is going to be the sweet spot, especially for 1440p gaming. I mean, to be honest, I think NVIDIA may have made your buying decision a bit easier anyway, because even if you wanted an RTX 3080, it's been almost impossible to buy them. They've really messed up their launch, unfortunately, because as impressive as this card is, even if you wanted to throw your money at them, as the Futurama meme goes, they've just been out of stock everywhere. The situation is getting better, and I have been told, and the reports I've seen suggest that the 3070 launch will go more smoothly. They have learned their lessons. But I think if you have been waiting to upgrade your PC, that actually anyway, the 3070 could be a better and cheaper option for you. So this is the 3070, and then if I bring in the 3080 next to it, I'll move my laptop out of the way a little bit, you can just see straight away that huge size difference between them. And then just for a bit of context, let's bring in its predecessor, the RTX 2070. And you can see these guys are a pretty similar size. So both the 3070 and the 3080 have this new flow-through design, although with the 3070 here we have both fans on top. But the principle is the same. The left fan pushes hot air out through the extra large vent underneath, and then the right fan pushes air through the card towards the back and then out here as well. And actually, we'll come to gaming stuff in just a second, but I tested the temperatures on both the 3070 and the 3080 and found that they were pretty much neck and neck. At idle, they were both averaging 33 degrees Celsius and under load while gaming about 74. There may have been a 1 or 2 degree difference in it, but within the margin of error, which is interesting given the fact that obviously the 3080 is more powerful, it's more power hungry. So I think basically NVIDIA have tuned the fans for the same thermal limits, but what it means is this actually is a lot quieter. The fans do not whir up anywhere near as much as this. We're looking at about 1750 RPM on the 3070 versus about 3800 RPM on the 3080s. And so under load, I measured this at about 42 decibels versus 54 on the 3080s. So quite a bit louder. You do notice the difference. And I think that's going to be especially important if you're going to put one of these in a more compact, say, living room PC. Although when idle, both cards were pretty much silent. The fans only kick in when you start doing something a little bit more demanding. Now in terms of ports, we have the exact same selection as the 3080. We get 3 DisplayPort 1.4s and 1 HDMI 2.1. It's also just a single 8-pin power connector this time, although you'll still need to use NVIDIA's love or hate it adapter, which then goes into the 12-pin port on the actual side of the card. So 1 8-pin versus 2 8-pins on the 3080, and as well as that, the 3070 actually uses a full 100 watts less of power. We're looking at about 220 watts versus 320, although NVIDIA on the back of the card do still recommend that you pair it with a 650 watt PSU in your system, which again, as I say, goes back to my sort of compact mini ITX PC build ideas for this. If you're going to maybe put it with the fantastic NZXT H1, which comes with a 650 watt power supply, then again, I think this would be perfect. But let's get to the good bit. Just how fast is this, and is it worth paying the extra $200 or so for the 3080? Well, here are the specs side by side. I am also working on a big buying guide video later this week, which will include the 3090 as well, but let's start with a few synthetic benchmarks. And actually, it does appear the 3080 is quite a bit faster than the 3070, between 25 and 45% in these 3 tests. But of course, it's all about the games, and this is where things get pretty interesting. Let's start with just the 3070's results, and I tested 5 games at 1080p, 1440p and 4K, all with maxed out settings and with ray tracing and DLSS turned on in Fortnite and Wolfenstein. Now, versus the 3080, same games, same settings, same test bench, and it is quite a bit faster, although the biggest gains are to be had at 4K. For example, at 1080p, the 3080 is just 15% faster. Jumping up to 1440p, it's a respectable but not crazy 23% faster. But at 4K, the 3080 is a whopping 34% faster than the 3070. So really which card you should go for comes down to, well, A, your budget, how much you can afford, and B, what resolution and frame rate you're playing at. The 3070, like the old 2080 Ti, is fine for 4K gaming, but at that resolution, I definitely pay the 200 extra and get the 3080 as it's over a third faster. But for most of us, I think the 3070 would be best paired with a high refresh 1440p monitor, like a 144Hz. If you are still playing at 1080p though, which to be fair a lot of people still are, then I would actually hold off even further because I expect, while not confirmed, we'll probably see a RTX 3060 come maybe in the new year, like January time. Although, as I say, not confirmed. But I think that would be the perfect 1080p card. Even this is a little bit overkill for 1080p unless you're going with a super high 240 or 360Hz refresh monitor. So I think for the price, the 3070 here really is easy to recommend. This is the FE, but of course third-party cards with beefier coolers and overclocks will be coming out soon as well, so keep an eye out for those. If you are thinking about upgrading though, remember it's not just about raw performance, because if you don't already have an RTX 20 series cards, then upgrading to this will also get you ray tracing and DLSS, HDMI 2.1, NVIDIA's reflex and broadcast features, plus support for the future-proofed AV1 codec. So there's a whole bunch of extras over and above just a higher frame rate. The big question though is how this and this will compete with AMD's RX 6000 series, so it may be worth holding off just for a few more weeks to see how they stack up. But what do you reckon? Would you be tempted to buy the new RTX 3070 or maybe spend a couple $100 more on the 3080 when you can actually finally buy one? Let me know in the comments below, and do stay tuned for my big buying guide video coming this Friday. Make sure you hit that little subscribe button below, which also helps me get to that 1 million subscriber mark. I'm not far off. Thank you so much for watching guys, and I'll see you next time right here on the Tech Chat.